afternoon, everybody. Today we have Jennifer. She's daughter to Greg Anderson, and she's here to do a wildlife presentation. She's going to share with us her pictures, her work, everything, and she'll tell us where she's been, places, I don't know, maybe in the mountains, deep in the snow somewhere, I don't know.
That's a good guess.
So I'm really excited to have her here, and I hope you have a good time, and I'm sure you will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Denai.
Thank you all for coming. This is very exciting. I have never done a wildlife presentation before. I do a theater degree.
You don't have a microphone?
Oh, do you want me to talk louder? I can talk louder. I'm very loud.
Good. Well, speak up loud.
Okay. So I was just saying that I haven't never done a presentation for my photography before. But I was having lunch with Dad a month ago, and I said, oh, I should come in and show some of your friends my photography. And I had no idea what I was going to do for you. So I put this together, so it's my first time. But I just wanted to show you a combination of different things that I like to photograph. As I mentioned, I've always been artistic. I was an artsy, and I was always very much supported by my parents to pursue my artistic goals. So I got a theater degree. I used to be a drama teacher. And then after doing that, I decided to pursue photography full-time as a career. So I photographed over 150 weddings. I was a wedding photographer for 17 years. I actually had a studio in my house where I photographed newborn babies and families. And I still have studio equipment where I photograph headshots and do photos of people. I didn't want to start off with this slide because I didn't want you to think this is a real estate presentation, but that is what I actually do for a living. So photography is just for fun. I'm a realtor. And so I still do headshots for other realtors, and I take pictures. I try to combine my photography into my real estate business. So that's why I put that up so you know who I am. I actually brought business cards. I don't know if any of you have Instagram, but I put all of my photography on Instagram. So I've made my business cards with real estate on the front and photography on the back so that people can find me online. So that's the beginning. This is my logo for my photography. So I'm Greg Anderson's daughter, so I've called my photography Anderson Images. Is this better? Is this better? Yes. Okay, good. Okay, so I thought I was loud enough, but I guess I'm out of date with my theater projection. So this is a photo of me with my camera. I have a big, huge camera that I shoot wildlife with. And I usually go out into the bush and spend many hours there not knowing what I'm going to see. And I wear camouflage so that I can blend in and hide from the birds. Try to keep myself out of their habitat and keep myself, you know, at a distance so I'm not disturbing them. This is Andrew over here. My friend Andrew and I do a lot of photography together, and he's here doing a video today to capture what I'm showing to you. He actually took this picture of me at the beach, taking a picture of sunset. And I'm a mom to a 17-year-old boy who this evening is registering for university already, so that is a huge step in our lives. He took this picture of me at sunrise at Rathtrevor Beach in Parksville. So I thought I would include that one. And this is the one you would see on the poster outside. This is another photographer, Don Laidlaw, who is a wildlife photographer as well. He came out and we were photographing kingfishers that day, hiding in the bush. So he took that nice photo. Yep. And yes, I do photograph in the snow sometimes. I don't love it, but it's worth it when you get the right shot. And like I said, you never know what you'll see. So what I've done is I've put together 5 different slideshows for you, which are put to different songs to music. I didn't want to just play like 20 minutes of photos, so I thought I would separate them based on the theme. So the first theme here is animals, and I have a whole variety. The majority of what I photograph is on Vancouver Island, but I have a whole variety of different photos from around the world. When I was a wedding photographer, I got paid to go to different destinations to photograph weddings. And so I've been in Mexico and Dominican and Costa Rica, photographing howler monkeys. I actually once was photographing a wedding on the beach in Costa Rica, and of course I was there paid to look at the bride and groom. But there were howler monkeys in a palm tree right above them throwing coconuts at their heads during the ceremony. And I really just wanted to look at the monkeys. Don't tell them that, but that was my cousin Dan and Carrie, so don't tell them I said that, Dad. But no, I was pretty excited about those animals. So the animals that you're going to see in this slideshow are frogs, elk. So one funny story about the elk you will see. Up in Yugo, up island, the elk just wander around. They're not everywhere, but you will find them in people's yards. And I photographed one and he had this funny antler and I thought, you know, was he born this way? Was it an accident? Is this something where they just shed their antlers and they grow in strange formations? Anyway, I found out when I posted it online, somebody who lives there said, oh, I know that elk. He hangs out in my backyard. We call him Bentley because he's got the bent. So you'll see, this isn't him, but you'll see him later. And flamingos, zebras, monkeys, those are from Mexico. I was there in February and photographed a wedding. And I just came back from a trip in the Yukon, which I'll tell you about later. But when I was there, I saw a lot of squirrels, and brown squirrels, the one that dig into the ground, and foxes. So they're my favorite. I was really excited to see some foxes in the Yukon, so you'll see those photos here too. Also turtles, raccoons, and deer. Those are from Victoria and Saanich here on the island. Okay, so I'll show you the first one here. That's Bentley. That's Bentley's friend laughing at him. He's kind of ugly. This one is my favorite. He's got a lot of character. Okay, no, he's my favorite. He's got great teeth. He was very happy fox. Smiled and laughed at me, and he stuck his tongue out at me a lot too. These are chipmunks from my mom's backyard in Ontario. Yeah, that's his breakfast. The early bird gets the worm and the early fox gets the bird. Yeah, not the best shot to leave at the end there. Okay, so this is a video. I thought I'd show this one because just last week I was driving to Esquimalt Lagoon, and one of my favorite things about where we live here in the West Shore, my two favorite places on this entire island to take photos of wildlife are literally in your backyard. The Esquimalt Lagoon, and then Royal Roads University. So Royal Roads University has two ponds that I spend all of my time at, wandering around the ponds looking for birds many days of the week. So this was on our way to the Esquimalt Lagoon to photograph the sunset. So it was kind of dark when we got there, but we noticed a barred owl just on the side of the road. And they are very hard to spot, because when we were driving up towards it, we were coming in this direction, and I don't know if you can see the owl yet, but it is the exact same color as the tree. So they are very camouflaged. But this is just a short clip to show you the distance that I am, like that's how far away I am from the owl. Nice timing. Yeah, so that's actually pretty close. I don't usually get that close to wildlife. So considering that was just on the side of the road on Lagoon Road right over here heading to the lagoon, that was a pretty exciting moment. And I thought you might like to see what I carry around with me. So this is the size of my camera. When I shot weddings, I didn't use a lens like this. This is called a telephoto lens, which gets you much closer to your subject, and it's much heavier. So I've had to like condition myself and my muscles to actually be able to hold this sucker. And I carry it around in this big heavy-duty backpack. So you can tell the distance, the focal length of a lens based on the amount of millimeters that it's labeled with. This one is 200 to 600. An average camera that a person has about 24 millimeters, which is a very wide angle. So 200 to 600 is very, very close. And then on top of that, I also have what's called a teleconverter here that I add between my camera body and my lens, which makes it 1.4 times closer. So it's actually 840 millimeters. So pretty close to get from far away. Yeah. So the results of seeing this guy on the side of the road, that's what you would see with your iPhone or your eye. And these are the photos that I took last week of that owl. So he was mousing. He was looking for mice. He actually had success. And I have photos of him eating it, but I don't love those photos, so I'm not sharing them. But it was really neat to watch him swallow it whole. Yeah. So he was very cooperative. I have a feeling he was quite young. I don't know enough about owls to be able to identify his age, but he was quite, he wasn't nervous to be around us. What's that?
He's got one eyebrow raised.
Oh yeah, he's checking me out. Yeah, so there he is mousing for us. Yeah. Yeah, so that's that. Okay, so next video is, I called it Coastal Creatures, because what I like to do when I have time, a couple times a year, is to head up to Campbell River. And Campbell River is a, 3-hour drive from here. So I go up there and I rent a boat. I go out on a chartered boat with other photographers and they take me out to see wildlife. So what I've seen up there are sea lions, and I went on a grizzly bear tour. So I was actually picked up in Campbell River by a boat, got on a boat for 2 hours, and on the way out to the grizzly bear island, we saw humpback whales, and we saw dolphins, and we saw sea lions, and a lot of neat seabirds. And then they drop you off on this island where the grizzly bears are. So you get on a yellow school bus, and it takes you around the island to different lookout points. So you get off the bus, and then there'll be like a lookout platform. So you have to run for your life from the bus to the platform with the heavy gear so that you can get up there and safely photograph the bears from a distance. Usually we only do this during the salmon seasons when they're very busy eating fish and they're not too busy worrying about us and they're not eating me. So bears, humpback whales, crabs, seals, otters, and starfish from Gabriola Island. I love to go out to Gabriola, there's a lot of wildlife there. And then and then some seals at Oak Bay Marina here in Victoria. And then the black bears that you will see are just along the Kinsman River in Campbell River. So that's not part of a tour. That's me going out and walking along the river and finding bears. The good part is because it's fishing season when we do that, or when the fish are there, the salmon spawning, there's so many fish for the bears that they're not worried about us. We have our bear spray, but you will go to that river and you will see a whole line of photographers and fishermen fishing right on the other side of the river from the bears. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. So these are my bears and my sea creatures.
A little bit of love goes a pretty long way. Take a look at where you started from and where you are today. You climbed mountains, swam oceans, you got knocked down and kept going. In the end, you know you got to say a little bit of love goes a pretty long way. All your wounds are healing fine. I'm so glad I got you in my life. Now the winter frost is gone. Now is a chance to live the life we want. A little bit of love goes a pretty long way. Everybody's lost, and that's okay. Some show it, some hide it. We're all fighting, so we can look for the words to say. A little bit of love goes a pretty long way. Rolling on to the rabbit's feet, walking down the sunny side of the street. Shadows creeping at your back. You can forget all like an easy act. A little bit of love goes a pretty long way. Love is really like a wonder drug. Let's let it get. Say goodbye to the drama. It's a key life to nirvana. If you're looking for the words to say, a little bit of love goes a pretty long way. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh. A little bit of love goes a pretty long way. Take a look at where you started from and where you are today. You climbed mountains, swam oceans, you got knocked down, you kept going. In the end, you know you got to say, a little bit of love goes a pretty long way. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh. A little bit of love goes a pretty long way.
That's a dolphin. And these are just from last week at the Oak Bay Marina. You can get pretty close to them there. I love how their noses are the shape of hearts. And that's the end as he goes back down. Goodbye. Yeah. So I brought along this calendar to tell you a story. Last year I entered the Nature Canada photography contest, and they had 5,000 entries or more. What they do is they narrow it down to 5, and I was in the top 5. And then it goes out to the public for voting. So I won second prize in that contest. And so this is a calendar that Nature Canada put out last year. And so it has 13 different images in it. And so mine was on the month of March, and it was this hummingbird. And so I actually took this hummingbird in the rain. So if you see it up close, which you will on my slides here later, you can see the little raindrops along his head and his feathers. And he's actually in a field of pink flowers. So that's what the pink background is, which is really neat. So because of that, I won a trip to the Yukon. And that was my prize for that contest. So that's why I just went to the Yukon recently and did some wildlife photography there. So this is a calendar I've given to a lot of my real estate clients and my friends and my dad. And Dad has his and actually uses it every day as a calendar, as people should with a calendar. A lot of my friends who have their calendars on their phones don't use it, but they have it pinging and they say that it's March in their house all year round. Because they just keep this up, which is pretty sweet. So, I was just going to tell you that because the next thing we're going to look at is the Birds of Prey video. Before we move on to that, I just wanted to mention that some of the people who live here told me that you see hummingbirds around here quite a bit as well. And I was saying to Dad, I want to just sit outside of your building and take some pictures of your own hummingbirds for you. But I guess that's depending on the time of year, what kind of flowers are out. So if you ever see some hummingbirds and you know that they like flowers, tell my daddy, okay? Because I want to take a picture for you so you can have a hummingbird on your wall here of your own, from your own flowers. That'd be really nice.
Looking around a little bit right now.
Yeah. So the birds of prey is the next one. These are the big birds. Bald eagles are something that I probably have the most photos of. I spent a lot of time searching for bald eagles. You will see that a lot of eagles are brown and don't have the white head. And a lot of people mistake those for hawks or mistake them for golden eagles, which are brown. But they're actually juvenile bald eagles. So juvenile bald eagles take from 5.5 to 8 years to get their white heads. So they're still bald eagles, but lots of times you'll see 3 of them together, the 2 parents and then the brown one, which is their child. And then osprey, it's kind of neat, right over here at the West Shore Rec Center, across the street there, as you head to the lagoon. Behind there's some soccer fields and they have these huge stadium lights, and there's actually an osprey nest on the top of the stadium lights over there. And so I've been wanting to get on a ladder in the middle of the field and get up and get some close shots of them. But what the osprey do is they go from there over to the Esquimalt Lagoon and they dive into the lagoon and fish and bring their fish back to their babies on the nest. So it's really neat to watch, and it's my goal, I still haven't really succeeded yet, I try hard, but to get a really great shot of an osprey diving into the water and catching a fish. And they are so challenging because they're far away, they do it really quickly, and when they dive in, they go fully into the ocean, and then you have to be ready with your camera while they try to get back out with their fish. So I do have some osprey photos here for you. And then another thing I've done a lot of is photographing owls. So there are barred owls like you saw earlier. Snowy owl, we don't have them here on the island very often, but I think it was 2 years ago, there was one snowy owl that showed up on someone's roof in Sydney. And so if you had driven down that road, you would see about 25 of us photographers out front on the road with our long lenses looking at that person's roof, because it was just so amazing to see a snowy owl. They're beautiful, the bright white ones. And great horned owls are harder to find as well. But this past year we got very lucky with being able to sight them. So down at Beacon Hill Park there was a hollowed out tree where a great horned owl had babies. And then also at a Mount Doug Park. So there's photos of both of those great horned owls here, and you'll see the little babies just as they're learning to fly and before they have fledged. When I share my photos on social media, I don't share pictures of nests or baby animals before they've fledged, before they've left, because you don't want too many people to go there and disturb them in their natural habitat. It was actually disappointing last year because the newspaper posted where the Beacon Hill owls were when they were first born. So they had to put ropes and try to keep people away. But anyway, I shot them from a distance and they're beautiful. So I will show you the birds of prey. Oh, that's my hummingbird there. That's why I wanted to show you the calendar. So yeah, in the rain.
Is that a rufous or a?
Oh yeah, that's actually Anna's hummingbird.
Yeah.
So like 90% of the hummingbirds we have here are Anna's hummingbirds with the pink, but the way that they move, their feathers glow to different colors depending on the way they look in the sun. But this year is my first year seeing rufous hummingbirds as well. And so those are the bright red and orange ones, and they're harder to spot. So we actually found one on the side of the highway, and I pulled over erratically and was so excited to see this little hummingbird because they're a lot less common. But we'll see hummingbirds later. This is a pygmy owl. They're about 2 apples high. This is an osprey here. I included it. It's not the best osprey shot. I can do better. But I just wanted to show that to you. So I don't know if any of you have been up to Port Renfrew. Just outside Port Renfrew, there's a lake called Fairy Lake, and this is a little bonsai tree that has survived in the middle of the lake for many years. It's very well photographed and a very famous tree. So I printed that one really large on canvas for my house, and actually my mother's house as well. And I started to print my photography as artwork for people's houses, which is a really nice way to tie it into my real estate, because I stage houses when I sell houses. So I will go in and help them organize and help them decorate, and I bring some of my own photography for their walls. And if they fall in love with a certain piece, I usually gift it to them as my gift at the end. So I like to try and keep my real estate exciting, because the photography is what gets me excited. So anyway, I brought a couple different pieces of art here just to show you the different mediums that I print on. So this is actually, I call this one my birthday bear. Is it upside down? Yeah. So my birthday bear popped out on my birthday, and this is the first bear I ever photographed a few years ago. So what I did is, for Christmas gifts one year for my clients, I printed my photography on puzzles. So if you look close, this is actually a 500-piece puzzle, and my son loves doing puzzles. So he put it together, and we glued it and framed it for Dad, so he has this hanging in his room. So yeah, that's one way to print them, is on puzzles. Okay. There was a few shorebirds in that video as well that I didn't tell you about. The oyster catcher is the one with the long orange beaks. There were some killdeers. I don't know if you recognize the killdeers, Dad, but when I was little, Dad used to take me on bike rides out to a church that wasn't too far from us, and we used to, along the bike ride, I remember seeing killdeers out in Ontario, and so that's one that I was proud that I could recognize here when I found them. There was a red crossbill, but my shot of that bird was yellow because the females are yellow and the males are red, so they're called a red crossbill even though they're yellow. And there was a sanderling, there's a whimbrel, I think that's how you pronounce it, the one with the long beak. I drove all the way out to Uplands Golf Course in Oak Bay at 6 in the morning because I heard that bird was hanging out there. So that's dedication, because I am not a morning person. And there was a black-billed plover and a short-billed dowitcher. So lots of little birds there for you. Okay, so only one left here. I just wanted to show that photo because it's special to me. I have it hanging in my own bedroom. It's one that I use for a lot of staging because of the neutral colors. It can work in a lot of different rooms. But what was neat about that is I went up to Port McNeill up Island and paid a lot of money to photograph pygmy owls, which are those tiny little 3-inch, 4-inch high owls. So it was my first time photographing them. I didn't even know what I was looking for. And I was standing there and all the other photographers said, "Oh, look, it's a pygmy." And I said, "Where?" Like, it's this little dot far away that I could hardly see it. Anyway, we spent many hours waiting for these pygmy owls because they're very skittish and they don't come close and you don't see them often. But then I turned around that morning and saw this. And so I was here for owls, and this was the scene behind me, and I just thought the light in the trees was so beautiful, and it turned out to be one of my favorite photos. So that's something about wildlife photography that's pretty special, is you never know what you'll see and you never know what you'll go home with. So that was a nice surprise. Okay, so this is our last video. The flying friends in this video are crows and ravens, which are hard to tell the difference between, but there are some differences. There's a lot of herons. I photograph a lot of herons at the Esquimalt Lagoon. You can see many of them there. Hummingbirds, again, the Annas and the Rufus. So the Rufus are the orange ones. The Annas have the pink heads and the green bodies. And I photographed some hummingbirds at Royal Roads last year that were in the snow. So if you see the hummingbirds with the white background, it was really neat overlap because it was the first snowfall of the year, so that we still had the flowers out. So the hummingbirds were after the flowers, these purple flowers, but there's snow in the flows, which was really neat. And then the kingfisher. So the kingfisher is my personal favorite bird. They're very loud and squawky and skittish and not easy to photograph, and they're a pain in the butt, but they're fun. And so I've been trying to get some good shots of them lately. They're always making a lot of noise and not cooperating with me. So I was Googling some facts on them recently and actually found out that they don't even like each other. So they're usually just squawking at each other, not just at me. Anyway, okay, here's the last one. that's a kingfisher. Okay, so yeah, birds are definitely my favorite. When I was little, we lived on a house on the street called Golf Club Road with a really big yard and a lot of sparrows. And I remember at Christmas I got my first tiny little point and shoot camera, and I spent all my babysitting money to buy film and pay for developing and run around the front yard and take pictures of sparrows. And they were far, far away and blurry, terrible photos. And my parents really encouraged it and told me I was an amazing photographer. And I would print triples of every photo and give them to all my friends. So to be able to go from there to here is it's really exciting for me. I thought I'd just end off with a couple photos to leave you with some love. As you can see, this heart has feet. This is the great blue heron. They do a lot of gymnastics and yoga. And so I really love the love in that photo. I like to go out to Ucluelet and Tofino and photograph the storm season out there. So this is me out at a point as far out as I can get in the ocean, so I can shoot sideways to the waves and get inside the waves. Because usually when you photograph the ocean, it's coming at you, right? So that's me getting in the inside of it. And yeah, I see love in that photo. I see a heart in the middle of that photo.
Yeah.
And I see a heart in this one too. I don't know if you can find the love in that wave. Just a little one in the middle there. And then of course, this one's probably the most obvious heart. So it's really neat in the amidst a massive, crazy storm to see that kind of thing come out in your photography. The real estate brokerage I work for is called Caldwell Bigger Oceanside. And so because we're called Oceanside, they have this photo really big in their office downtown, which is nice. And of course, the most loving photo of them all. Yes, thank you so much for being here. This is really fun.
Thank you.
Yes, I need to write down the name of that bird so I
Your
can.
colors are so intense.
Thank you.
Are they natural? Do you
I-
fix them up somehow?
I do edit my photos. I definitely use an editing program that enhances the vibrance sometimes, but I don't change the color. So